Microsoft, what the hell is wrong with you? Hey guys, it's Sora here in the video. This is going to be a completely different kind of video right now. I did have a review scheduled for today. But of course, you know, we all heard about the whole Helldivers incident the other day. Microsoft thought, how can we get everybody talking about us in a negative light again? I know, we'll shut down some studios. Now, normally I wouldn't talk about something like this, because normally this would be pretty much a nothing thing. This would normally be a nothing thing, okay? However, the studios that they decided, sorry, I'm just fixing my hair. The studio that they decided to close down included Tango Gameworks. Now, you're probably wondering, how is this a problem? You know, how is this a big issue? How is this something that's a problem for, you know, how is this different from normal? Tango Gameworks made Hi-Fi Rush, a game which was one of the sleeper hits of last year. A game which arguably should have been nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards instead of Resident Evil 4 Remake. That's a whole other subject. The game recently released on PlayStation 5. And it did incredibly well there. It's actually sold pretty well there. Now, how does Microsoft reward them? They reward them by shutting them down. You know, normally when a studio makes a hit that you, in your current situation and in your current state, desperately need, by the way, normally you reward them by giving them another project. But no, not Microsoft. Microsoft's like, no, we'll just shut them down instead. Add to that the fact that they shut down another studio, the studio behind Redfall. Now, of course, Redfall was a bad game. There are some people who defend it, but it was a bad game. But let's go into why this is equally as bad, if not worse. Well, you see, Redfall came out with a Hero Edition that would include DLC, which you paid extra money for this edition to get this DLC. Now, because Microsoft has shut down the studio, they have ceased any development on anything relating to this game. This DLC has not been released. This DLC that people paid extra money for a special edition of this game to get has not been released, and now never will be. And at Microsoft Infinite Wisdom are like, oh, we'll just refund you store credit of the value of what this was. You do realise you were supposed to be contractually obligated to release this DLC, or give people their money back. Don't give them a freaking voucher for the fucking Xbox store, or whatever the hell it's going to be, when you know for a fact most people are not going to accept that. This is why, if you are worried that your game is going to be a failure, you don't do DLC for it that requires a payment. Because doing that will just increase the chances of this kind of a situation. Now, other specifics about this. Arcane, Austin, I think it was, or Leon, whichever one it was, they didn't want to release Redfall in the state that it released in. But Phil Spencer told them it will be fine. You can release it like this. Then, when the game bombed because the game wasn't in a state where it was ready to be shipped, he does a double take and flippin' blames the studio. He assures them of their job security. And then he goes and shuts them down. Also, they were working on the DLC for this game literally hours. Hours. Not days, not weeks, not months. Hours before they were shut down. It gets even worse. How did Microsoft choose to tell these studios that they were laying them off and effectively closing them? By email. They didn't even have the human decency to tell them face to face or tell them in a meeting or something. They told all of these employees they were fired and were let go via an email. Let that sink in. They were told via an email. And before any of you jump down my throat and say, oh, I'm just a hater that thinks Phil Spencer should be fired, think about this. You have just had a studio that made a game that people actually took seriously on your system. When Hi-Fi Rush released, people loved it. It got people talking about Xbox. It was a hit. Phil Spencer, or whoever it was, has decided to shut down that studio after making this massive hit of a game. If you think that's excusable, you should seek help, because you probably have an Xbox controller up your ass. There is no excuses for this. There is no excuse that can be made for this. This is the exact kind of thing that are the reason why we have massive layoffs and issues with these game studios. And to top it off, Microsoft continues to buy these studios. They continue to buy these studios when they know they can't manage the ones they already have. So, when all these Activision games start being made under Xbox's banner, expect some of these studios to be shut down. The best thing that Toys for Bob did was getting the hell out of there and going on their own. And they did this. They did this to a studio, keep in mind, that made the best, highly acclaimed game that they have had, that's not a Forza game, so don't at me with that, for over a decade. If this studio can be shut down for that, what's to stop them shutting down Rareware? What's to stop them shutting down Obsidian? What's to stop them shutting down Double Fine? What's to stop them shutting down Playground? They're not going to shut down 343 because that studio was made just to make Halo games. If you are excusing this and saying this isn't a problem, you actually need to take a good, very good, long look. Okay? You need to take a very good, long look at yourself and at your gaming habits, because this is inexcusable. And yes, I would be saying the exact same thing if this was Nintendo or if it was Sony. I would be saying the exact same thing if it was either of them. But it's not either of them. It's Microsoft. And don't give me they had to do this to They had to do this to pay their employees. Microsoft is a $1 billion business. They have more money than probably everybody watching this, with maybe a couple of exceptions, combined. So don't at me saying they needed to do this to recoup money. It's Microsoft. They have so much disposable money, they wipe the toilet paper in the bathrooms is probably made of it. So don't at me saying that. They didn't do this because they needed to make money back, okay? They didn't do this because they needed to do that. They did this for the simple fact they could. Because this is the sad reality of this. And I do not care if what I'm about to say pisses people off. Because you need to frickin' hear it. For years now. For absolute years now. For years now. Xbox has been poorly handled. Phil Spencer came in to right the ship after the disaster that was the end of the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One. He came in about a couple of years into the Xbox One's life cycle. Failed to turn that around, so that system became a huge colossal failure. Kept promising time and time again, these games are coming, these games are coming, these games are coming. Literally got to a point where studios like Square Enix wanted nothing to do with them. Because they were so low down. There came a point where they actually had, does anyone remember this? When the news broke out that Microsoft actually had to pay developers to put their games on their frickin' system because nobody wanted it. Then all these buying these studios happened. You can buy all the frickin' studios you want. If you're going to shut down any studio that you buy that makes even close to a fucking great game for you, you have more money than sense. And I just know for a fact they're going to shut down some of the studios that they have that Activision owned. And you know something? I'm going to say this right now. You will hear within the next year or so studios like Vicarious Visions, I think it's Raven, is it Raven or whatever it's called that made the Call of Duty games? You will hear studios like that will be shut down. Because I'm guaranteeing you right now, and people were saying this for ages, the only reason they frickin' bought Activision was for Call of Duty, Diablo, possibly, Warcraft, and Overwatch. Literally just Call of Duty. You're not going to see any more of these other games from them. And again, they shut down a studio that made a bona fide Game of the Year contender for them. Let that sink in. They shut down a studio that made a Game of the Year contender for them. You want to know what Sony did? When games that Supermassive made started getting all these awards and accolades, they welcomed them into the PlayStation family. They gave them a bigger opportunity to make a larger game, and we got Returnal out of it. What does Microsoft do? Pulls the flipping shutters on the studio. And if you're going to sit there or stand there or whatever the hell you're doing, if you're going to stand there and you are going to excuse this by saying, oh, they probably did it for a reason. What possible reason could a multi-billion-dollar corporation that could afford to buy their entire competition if they flipping chose to, what possible reason could they have for shutting down a studio that made the best game they've had in over a freaking decade? What excuse is there for that? Because I'm guaranteeing you right now, there is not one. They just decided we're going to shut down these studios for whatever reason. Here's a little tip, Microsoft. If you can't freaking manage all of these studios that you own, maybe, just fucking maybe, you shouldn't fucking buy more. Literally, just... It infuriates me because there are people who continue to make excuses for this company. You know, I had planned on Sunday, I had planned to do a review, a big, very long video that was going to have my complete Xbox One and Xbox Series X collection in one video. Which would probably have been the longest in-depth one I had done. Because I wanted... Because I've talked about Nintendo a lot, I've talked about PlayStation a lot. I've barely talked about Xbox. I was going to do that and give them an opportunity to have them be put on a spotlight on my channel. Now I can't do that. I can't, in good conscience, do that anymore. How do I on Sunday sit there and record an hour and a half probably long video recommending and singing praises to a company that does shit like this? And if anybody wants to come at me and say, well, you did this for Sony and they do some of the things, when the hell has Sony ever closed down a studio that made a Game of the Year contender? When has Sony ever done anything like that? When has Nintendo ever done anything like that? They've done the opposite. When they've had a studio that isn't owned by them, that makes games for them, make a bona fide hit for them that was a Game of the Year contender, they've welcomed them into the fold. Microsoft done the opposite. You know what it's starting to feel like? It is starting to feel like Microsoft just wants to completely kill the Xbox division themselves. If that's what you want, Phil Spencer and Matt Booty and whoever the hell is in charge, Aaron Greenberg, whoever the hell is else in charge there, if that's what you want to do, you are going the right way about it. Because if you continue to shut down these studios that have done absolutely nothing but make games for you that are bona fide hits, I mean, with Redfall, you can kind of excuse that. But even then, you didn't give them a chance to fix that game. They told you when you walked into their fucking offices and cancelled a PS5 version that was already in development, by the way, when you walked into their office, you looked at the state that fucking Redfall was in, they told you there and then. There and then they told you that that game was not ready to be released. And you stood there and you said, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. You can fix it later, or whatever it was that you said. You let them release that game in that state. And then when the game bombed and got shit reviews, instead of standing by the studio and saying, it's okay, we can fix this, you throw them under the bus and disown the game and say, sorry, it's so bad. I'll give you another instance of why I don't understand why anybody still trusts Phil Spencer to lead this company, to lead this division. He publicly said they lost the console war. He has publicly admitted that they cannot compete with PlayStation and Nintendo. He openly admitted that. Openly admitted that. That's basically like being in the middle of a war zone surrounded by everybody and just putting your hands up and saying, "Here I am, take me down now." If you think that Phil Spencer can actually right the ship of Xbox, I want some of what you are smoking. And I know for a fact, I know for a goddamn fact, I am going to have Xbox, as you're called, attack me for saying this. Go right the hell ahead. Because if you're going to stand there and make excuses for this kind of shit, your opinion means fucking nothing to me anyway. If you can sit there and you can accept this and be like, yeah, this is fine. There's no reason why this is a problem. Get the hell out of here with that shit. You want to come at me and say shit like that? I don't give a shit. Your opinion is null and void. Your opinion is not valid to me. Because guess what? I care about gaming. I care about preserving games. I care about the heritage and the history of this fucking industry. I don't appreciate a fucking multi-billion-dollar fucking corporation coming in, buying up all these studios, having them make games for them, then shutting them fucking down when they actually do good at the thing they were told to do. Like, imagine you were at work and your boss told you to do something and you did it, but you went above and beyond because you care. You do so well that you exceed everybody's expectations. You do so well that your work that was supposed to be exclusive to this one business ends up elsewhere too and does even better. And then your original boss turns around and says to you, "Oh, sorry, yes, you did a great job. You did a phenomenal job. We're proud of what you did, but you're fired." How the hell would you feel about that? How would you feel about that? Imagine you're working on DLC for a game that you know is never going to achieve what it was supposed to achieve. You're working hard on DLC for that to try and salvage what little you can. Only to then have some schmuck in a fucking suit walk in, not even have the nerve to walk in and tell you this to face. Just a couple of hours later, when you're putting your all into this, to have, in a couple of hours later after that, have them say, "Yeah, okay, that's nice, but we're going to have to let you all go." How would you feel? And it makes me laugh how people are like, "Oh, Microsoft is the pro-consumer one." They are not. None of the big three are your fucking friends. All three do different shady shit. Nintendo, with their stupid DMCAs on fan projects and stuff like that. Sony, with the overpricing of things and some boneheaded decisions about online requirements and selling a game that requires an online subscription to a service that isn't available in specific countries. And Microsoft with pretty much every single thing that they do. Anyone who thinks Microsoft buying all these companies and just going money, 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 money to everything, and then doing this shit? Anyone that thinks that stuff You need a fucking reality check. Because there's going to come a point, okay? There is going to come a point when you have to understand that that kind of mentality ruins this industry. And you, by actively accepting this, you're pretty much saying, okay? You're pretty much saying, right? You are pretty much saying, by doing this, you are saying you are allowing these companies to fuck you in the ass. Yeah, this video was a lot more angrier and a lot more shoutier than any of my other videos ever before. But it needed to be said. And I know perfectly well what I'm risking by doing this. I am risking the entire Xbox community hating my ass for this. But I have fucking principles. This is one of the worst fucking things that they have ever fucking done. And I had to talk about it. If an entire fan base hates me for this, so fucking be it. Bring the fucking hate on. I really couldn't care less. I've been dealing with hate my whole fucking life, so bring it, bitches. I don't give a shit. I stand by my principles. If I think something's wrong and fucked up, I'm gonna fucking speak about it. Okay? This is Sora, signing out. I love you guys. Oh. Smack that like button. Smash that subscribe button. This is Sora signing out. I love you guys. Peace. And fuck you, Microsoft.